I was originally in the field of microbiology, and I found that field a little boring for me, frankly, because I like interacting with people and talking to people, managing people, and I found that very interesting. And IT was such a field that was emerging at the time, and I found myself drawn towards that field, and that's how I initially came to IT. Many people have inspired me, of course, over the course of my life, but the most inspiration and support that I have received is actually from my father. From the time I've been a very small child, he has told me that just because I'm a woman, it does not mean I cannot do anything. He has supported me. I don't know, I can even say when I learned driving, for example. I was 16 years old to begin with, and he's decided that I will learn driving on a Jeep, because he told me that that's probably the most difficult vehicle to drive, and if I learn on that, then I'll be able to drive anything else. And even on the Jeep, he would make me change the tires. He would simulate situations where the fuel had run out and I had to do all the pumping and make the engine start again. So he would do all of that. And then when I took a decision to study microbiology, he is the one who supported me at very great expense. He educated me in microbiology. I worked for some time, but then I decided I wanted to switch fields, and again he supported me. He helped me to shift to the IT field. He enrolled me in a good course, and he helped me go for my interviews, get the job and all that. So while I have received significant support from husband and family, I think if I have to mention one person from my childhood, I have to say it's my father that has inspired me the most. അച്ഛൻ കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ എനിക്ക് ഒരു മാതൃകയായിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നത് ഡെഫിനറ്റ്ലി ഇന്ദിരാഗാന്ധിയാണ്. Because in such a tough world, interacting with multiple companies, handling situations where there has been so much discord in the country, still holding her own. A very small woman, but holding her own in a world of men without hesitating at all. That made me feel that actually women can do it. If they really set out to do it, there's nothing women cannot do. And so definitely Indira Gandhi. In this company, for example, I have worked with various teams. I am very fortunate. The team that I'm working in now, though most of them are men, I don't have any significant difficulties working with them. We have a very good relationship. But there have been instances where with other departments or with other companies, there has been situations where people are not willing to accept a woman in a lead role. I have faced that. Especially I travel a lot to different parts of the world, and in some parts of the world I have found that acceptance of a woman in a role such as mine is not so good. But I think I have successfully managed to control or to go over these situations, because I think women have the ability to be more cool about things and not let their ego affect them too much. So we are able to find a good solution, which is amicable solution that suits all parties. And I think that is a privilege that women have, which helps them. In the professional environment, I must admit, I have had some instances where there have been ego clashes, and when promotions have been considered, people have looked back on some of potential leaves that I've taken because of maternity leave and so on, and looked at it as reduction in experience. But actually the company has never done that, has been very, very supportive, and hence I must say I've never been bypassed for a promotion, or I have not faced any such issue. I have had one or two instances where individuals have shown reluctance to report into a woman at a senior position. But at this point I'm extremely lucky because I have a very, very good team. Most of them are men, but I don't have any problem interacting with them at all. So I must say I've been very lucky, and the rough spots, with the support of the company, I have been able to overcome. My job requires that I travel a lot. I mean, just as an example, now I've just come back from a travel where I went to England, Netherlands, Egypt and South Africa. So you are actually mixing with people from very, very, very different kind of cultures. I cannot, proceed in my profession well if I refuse to travel. Some environments are very good for me to travel, but some environments are very difficult because primarily from India, women are very conservative. And things like when you have to stay very late for a party, there are lots of people who are drinking and so on. It makes us feel a little uncomfortable sometimes. Traveling late, alone, you reach in a country sometimes at 1 o'clock in the morning and you have to take a taxi and go to the hotel. So situations like this, sometimes you have some difficulty. But so far, I have managed to get on with it well. I think sometimes when I travel to the Middle East, for example, the acceptance of a woman as being the senior position is not very good sometimes. Like for example, if I'm in a meeting with another male colleague of mine, I find that there are people who are focusing the discussion only on my male colleague and not paying much attention to me to begin with. But I think once I start the presentation and once we start the discussion, they understand that I know what I'm presenting and they understand what my position is. So it is not too difficult. But yes, it is difficult to travel alone internationally for long periods of time. As I was saying, I travel internationally for a lot of business meetings. Also, we have a lot of high-level business meetings here at IBS. Now, in the management team, actually, I am probably, in the business management team, I am the only woman. So sometimes I feel, my God, what am I doing? Can I do this? Because we are discussing business that is worth millions of US dollars, huge numbers that we are discussing. But then I sort of, think inwardly that, okay, see, I have done the best I can. In fact, I think I work harder than my male colleagues do because I want to prove a point. Never should it be that because I'm a woman, I could not manage it. I don't want anyone ever to say that. So since I am generally well prepared, I tell myself, no, Parvati, you can do this. There's no reason you can't. And I just conduct the meetings. But both in age and in the fact that I'm a woman, I'm much younger than most of my colleagues here, and I'm the only woman in the group. So yes, sometimes I do feel a little, worried of whether I can actually do it. Well, if I were to rate myself from a professional environment, I would think that I have been quite successful. I interact well with my teams. I manage to resolve conflicts effectively. I plan and manage my interactions with customers efficiently. I think one of the primary pluses for me, which have worked as being a woman, is I find that sometimes women are able to see a softer angle to things and are able to resolve conflicts better than men are. So I think I have been quite successful as a woman business person. I still have a long way to go, but I'm confident that I can get there. Professionally in the Nokia end, target is definitely, we work on yearly targets. So I have a top line number in terms of revenue coming to the company that I have to make. So that is my topmost target. The second target that I work towards is ensuring that my line of business is profitable. So we have a target internally that 30% profit after taxes we must deliver. So these are the two primary targets for me. The third softer target is I'm also responsible for the product development. So I ensure that the product is constantly updated and stays aligned to what the market actually requires. So to me, in the short to medium term, these are the three primary targets for me. For women definitely to stand on their own 2 feet without the backing of a male partner. But I would like to put it in two ways. Like suppose you're unmarried, can you succeed in this world? Yes, I think you can succeed in this world without backing of a male, without a husband and so or a partner. But looking at the other aspect, now I am married actually. I have a husband and I have 2 children, and I think it's much nicer to have a family. But I try to the best of my ability, I try and keep these two things separately. Because at work, I have to be a very powerful, confident manager. I cannot afford to be a weak woman. But when I go home, I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a daughter to my parents, a sister to my brother, and that's a much softer role. That's also a very, very fulfilling role. And at home, I try to let my husband manage as many of my problems as possible, because at work, I'm handling all my problems without any support. And at home, it is nice to have a partner who will share your problems and who will support you. So I think there are both aspects to it, but women, I think in this new world, women can definitely succeed by themselves, provided they have the right education and the right attitude. Now in Kerala, we have a lot of educated women, but I am very sad to see that there are not as many successful Kerala women as I would like to see. Now I think there are several contributors to it. One is definitely their upbringing and their environment, and the other is their own attitudes which need to change. Now just speaking of attitude, I travel internationally, I travel to several locations, and you have to be self-reliant when you travel. You have to travel alone, go in taxis alone, stay in hotels alone, and our women are not willing to do that. They constantly want somebody to support them or somebody to go with them. So when it comes to that situation, finally their co-workers find it a burden, because they feel, my God, if I traveled with this lady, then I'll have to escort her to the hotel every day, I have to escort her to the airport and so on. And then they will say, see, please, can you send another boy with me, not a woman. So I think we ourselves, women ourselves are inhibiting our progress in the business environment, and I think that is something we should not do. We should be more confident, change with the business environment. I think something that our women do is, we look at every male as a potential threat. I mean, we should not look at that. Look at it like that. These are all just human beings getting on with their life, doing the best they can. Don't look at every man as a potential attacker or somebody who could harm you. They are all individuals working together. We should be more confident. Don't take risks. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, walk around at 12 o'clock alone in a bad neighborhood. That's not what I'm saying. Take calculated risks, but maintain your individuality and be independent. If you can do that, there is nothing you as a woman cannot achieve. I definitely feel that. Now, the environment. I think our parents have to stop treating girls as people who will never reach anywhere, or people whose education is not important. They should educate women and men equally. Boys and girls should get the equal opportunity so that they can excel. Now, I think we find that most of our ranks are got by women, but the actual business job positions and so on are not got by women. It is the men who are excelling in that field. That is because we do not take risk. Constantly we are being very, no, I cannot do this, I prefer to sit at home, I want a job that is from 9 to 5, which is, 2 kilometers from my home. See, these are not things that are possible in the changing business environment. What are the options of you getting a job which is paying a good amount, which has fantastic conditions, which is very close to your hometown? It is not going to happen. Just be prepared to go out there, do the best you can, and reach where the potential, full potential that you actually have. Now, I think for married women, there is another thing that we have to say, because I think the husbands have to change their mentality a little bit. Now, I am very lucky in that I have a very supportive husband. But if you look at the Western world, for example, men and women equally share work at home. Now, I'm not saying that we should go to that immediately, or that we are there yet. I think I am in the generation where, you're stuck still with all of your work at home and all of your work in the office. That makes life a little difficult. I think we need to have men who are willing to let their wives travel, for example, willing to let their wives take promotions. I have instances where women have said, no, I don't want a promotion because then I have to work more hours and my husband doesn't like it. So our men have to be more supportive towards women, both at helping a little bit in the home and allowing them to develop their individuality, at least when they are in their office environment. If they can do that, I think as a team, they will be able to take the family much further. They will be able to educate their children much better. They will be able to show the next generation that boy or girl, you can still make it in this world. As a woman, I have faced situations where there have been conflicts or I have found difficult to resolve. If I say as an example, now I think in Kerala we are a very close-knit family environment. We have a lot of social commitments like weddings and so on and so forth. So there was a situation where I had to travel for a very important business meeting, but it was the same time that there was a very important family function in my husband's family. And because this business meeting was very important for me, it was a commitment that I had made to the company. The deal was very important for the company. And I had to take a decision that I would not attend the family function and I would go for the business meeting. But that is very difficult because both for my in-laws, for a while, they are very supportive, but for a while there was a small, a small friction, if I must say, saying that, see, she did not consider it important enough to come for the family function. Now, this is the kind of situation that women constantly face. But you have to understand that you cannot show that weakness as being a woman or being a daughter-in-law in your business environment, because then you are not a viable business manager. And if several such situations occur, the company will begin to wonder whether you can actually do the job. So sometimes you have to make difficult decisions like that. Now, in the workplace also sometimes you face difficulty. There is a very strange situation that I faced. We had set up plans for me to make a demonstration in Saudi Arabia. So everything was decided and all set. Visa was taken. Very difficult for a woman to take a visa without a husband in the passport. But I still managed to get my visa. And the salesperson was insistent that I have to do the presentation. Now, the day before the presentation, he calls me and he tells me, you have to wear a full burqa. Without that, it's very dangerous. There are risks. If you come out of the airport without a burqa, the police will arrest you. So immediately, I was totally at a loss. I mean, naturally, this was a Sunday. It was too late to change any plans. I spoke to my husband and I was almost in tears. I said, now what do I do? And my husband said that to go at such short notice, you don't have a burqa on you and it's difficult for us to procure one at this stage. And anyway, he felt that he didn't think I should do it. And he said, I don't want my wife to go into such a risky environment where there's a chance of the police arresting her because she's not wearing a burqa. So I was in a really difficult situation because the meeting is planned. There are some 10 people from the customer side who are going to be there. The salesperson is banking on it. He was constantly on the phone. He spoke to me. He spoke to my husband. But luckily there, I could resolve the situation because technology came to my help. Because using the internet, I did what we call a web demonstration. So you load the application, you load the software through the internet, and I did the presentation and it was a very successful presentation. So it's just an example that there are so many situations where being a woman is a disadvantage. But I think if you think smartly, you can still resolve most of them.